But you have been criticised by the real linchpin of the open source movement, Linux, that you're undermining the open source movement. This is the opposite of what Microsoft does in terms of proprietary software, but Linux says you're undermining it. What would you say to that?
I would say we've always had open interfaces from the day we got started. All the user visible and partner visible interfaces are open.
Again, we're releasing it today, and we're going to get a lot of feedback over the next month or two, and we're anxiously awaiting that.
I mean, it's being portrayed as being a delay rather than, this was the plan all along. Is that the case?
It's in software, delays often happen.
I just want to focus on the Microsoft situation for a moment. I mean, the situation as we have it, the possibility of Microsoft being split up in two, how is that going to affect your business as one of Microsoft's biggest customers?
I don't think it has much effect in the underlying demand for the products.
But the behavior remedies which could kick in 90 days, amongst them is that computer makers like you are free to put what you want on your PCs rather than Microsoft choosing to do that. Do you want that kind of freedom?
You know, it's a little too early for us to say how this might play out.
Telecom operators face a tough choice: attract customers with cheaper, simpler technologies like Edge and Bluetooth, and then move them gradually over to 3G networks, or move to 3G ASAP in order to cover the massive investment they're making in third-generation licenses.
The longer he works at Microsoft, the more he actually sounds like Bill Gates. I mean, if you just listen, the two of them sound almost indistinguishable.
One interesting thing which Steve Ballmer came up with, he was asked whether the company had any contingency plans if the appeal fails. And he said, well, no, not really.
Not everybody was excited about all the figures, were they?
Just to get a clearer picture of what's been going on here, I mean, the analysts had been expecting 4.4 billion in profits. Then it came in with this figure which appeared to be 366% greater. But when they looked closer, some of the analysts were saying, okay, what's been going on here? There's some extraordinary items which we didn't know about. They hadn't been told about them. Capital gains, they say, of 1.4 billion kroner. That's from things like the selling off of some real estate and some internet interests. That takes pre-tax profit down to 4.6 billion, so that's something more like 4% above analysts' expectation.
Coming up on Business Centre Europe, Daimler Chrysler shares were driven lower today after the company announced an ambitious plan to get its US unit back on the road to recovery.
Let's go straight to Vienna and join Chris Burns. Chris, a lot riding on this. What hopes are there for getting a significant cut in output?
Well, when the initial agreement between the leading three, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela and Mexico, was made a week or so ago, they started talking about cuts of between 1.6 and 2 million barrels of oil a day. But since then, they've been doing their sums, and it looks like that might be a little over-ambitious. Hello, welcome to Europe This Week, CNBC's review of the key business, financial and political stories of the past 7 days. Aren't the markets doing that anyway? I mean, you know, we're seeing pound at the lowest level since '86 against the dollar, so it seems to be happening.
Yes, they're doing that because they believe that the UK government is now more likely to accelerate the timetable.
It isn't exactly the hour of decision on monetary union, and it isn't exactly the hour of decision on the Maastricht Treaty. That will come next June in Amsterdam. That's when the crunch on finalising the details of how the Maastricht Treaty is going to be revised, that's when that's going to really be settled, and there'll probably be quite a scrap then. We're here in Stockholm, judged by many to be one of Europe's high-tech hotspots. This time the show's being staged on what might be called the home territory of Brussels.
the administrative heart of the new Europe. If anything, this place, Helsinki, is even more of a wireless hotbed than Stockholm. There's no guarantee they will actually happen, or they will be enough to boost a flagging oil price. Chris Burns, CNBC, Vienna. It's not only trade in physical goods, but also the free flow of capital which the Americans are looking to promote. Here at the Chirac campaign headquarters, they celebrated the victory of their man in style.
Chris Burns, CNBC, Frankfurt.